Smoke curled through the narrow alley like a ghost searching for life. Mara sat hunched beside a dented trash bin, her blanket nothing more than an old army jacket that barely kept the night chill away. The city was half asleep, the streets quiet except for the faint hum of distant traffic and the echo of a siren somewhere far off. She held out her hands to the small fire flickering in a metal can, watching the flames dance, trying to forget the hunger clawing in her stomach. Then she heard it. A faint, high-pitched sound that didn't belong. At first she thought it was a cat, but then came the unmistakable cry of a child, sharp, terrified, from above. Mara's head snapped up. She squinted through the smoky air and saw the faint orange glow bleeding from the second floor of the apartment across the alley. "God, no," she whispered. The window above burst open, coughing out a wave of black smoke. Through it she could see a tiny silhouette, a child pounding on the glass, his voice hoarse with fear. Without a thought, without even feeling her feet move, Mara was already running. She kicked off her worn shoes and grabbed an old metal crate to reach the lower rung of the fire escape. The iron ladder was burning hot, her palms screaming as she pulled herself upward. Sparks rained down. Somewhere a woman shouted for help. The smoke grew thicker as she climbed. Her lungs burned, her eyes stung. But she could see the boy now, no older than 6, his little hands gripping the window frame. He was trapped. "Cover your mouth, baby," she yelled hoarsely, coughing as she climbed the final rung. She slammed her elbow against the window until it cracked, then reached through and unlatched it. The rush of hot air nearly threw her off balance, but she pushed inside. Inside the apartment was chaos. Curtains burned like paper. Furniture melted into shadowy shapes. Mara wrapped the child in her threadbare scarf and pulled him close to her chest. "It's okay, I've got you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Hold on tight." The exit door was blocked by flames, so she turned toward the side window, yanking it open with shaking hands. The metal frame scorched her skin, but she didn't let go. Down below, the alley spun with flashing red lights. The fire trucks were just arriving. With no time left, Mara pressed the boy to her chest and jumped. They crashed through the lower awning, which ripped like fabric under their weight, and landed hard on a pile of old cardboard boxes. Pain exploded through her shoulder, but the child was crying, alive, breathing, safe. Mara coughed, half laughing through the smoke, tears streaking the soot on her face. People rushed toward them, shouting, calling for medics. She placed the boy gently into someone's arms and whispered, barely audible through the noise, "He's okay. Take care of him." Before anyone could ask who she was, she stumbled into the shadows, her silhouette swallowed by smoke and night. The flashing red and blue lights painted the street like a dream she didn't belong in. Firefighters battled the last of the flames, water hissing against the charred walls as smoke spiraled into the dawn. Paramedics crowded around the little boy she had pulled from the fire, wrapping him in a silver blanket, checking his pulse, his breathing. People murmured, pointing at the blackened apartment windows, but no one noticed her slipping away. Mara leaned against a cold brick wall a block away, her body trembling with exhaustion. Her lungs ached from the smoke and every breath came out as a rasp. Her palms were blistered, her coat half burned at the sleeves. She tried to rub the soot from her face, but it only smeared darker. The siren still screamed behind her, and she could hear someone shouting for the woman who saved him. That word, woman, almost made her laugh. They didn't know her name. No one did. To them, she was just another shadow in the alley, another nameless soul wandering the edges of their world. She turned down an empty street, limping slightly, her knees scraped from the fall. Every step sent a jolt of pain up her spine, but she didn't care. The boy was safe. That was all that mattered. When she reached the edge of the railway yard, she sank down beside a rusted fence and curled up in her jacket. The air smelled of smoke and diesel, but it was quiet there, just the low hum of the night trains rolling by. She closed her eyes and could still feel the boy's tiny heartbeat pressed against her chest. It had been so long since she'd held something that fragile, something so alive. A soft memory flickered in her mind. Her own child, a little girl with curly hair and green eyes, a face she hadn't seen in years. She swallowed hard and brushed away the thought. That part of her life was gone. The world had taken it from her piece by piece, until she had nothing left but the clothes on her back and a name no one cared to remember. A stray dog padded near, sniffing the hem of her coat. Mara smiled weakly and tore off a corner of stale bread from her pocket, tossing it toward him. There you go, boy, she whispered, her voice rough. You're hungry too, huh? Her hands trembled as she looked at the burns, red, raw, angry. And she wrapped them again with a torn bit of her sleeve. It stung, but she barely felt it. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind only pain and a strange, quiet peace. Somewhere far behind, she could still hear the echo of people cheering, clapping for the unknown hero who had saved a child. She almost smiled at the irony. If they knew who she was, a homeless woman who slept under bridges and begged for food, would they still clap? She leaned her head against the cold metal fence and whispered into the dark. At least he's safe. That's all that matters. The sound of tires screeching cut through the lingering chaos. A black luxury car pulled up to the curb, sleek and spotless amid the smoke and debris. Its doors flew open before it had even stopped moving. Out stepped a tall man in a dark suit, his hair disheveled, his tie hanging loose. His face was pale, eyes wide with panic. Ethan Hale, the CEO of Hale Industries, one of the city's youngest millionaires. But at that moment, nothing about him looked powerful. He was a father searching for his son. "Where is he?" Ethan shouted, pushing through firefighters and police officers. His voice cracked with desperation. "Where's my boy, Noah, Noah?" A paramedic turned toward him, startled. "Sir, please step back." But before the medic could finish, Ethan spotted the ambulance and ran straight for it. Inside, the small boy sat on a stretcher, an oxygen mask over his face, his cheeks streaked with soot but his little chest rising and falling steadily. "Daddy," the boy murmured weakly as Ethan gathered him into his arms, shaking with relief. Tears streamed down his face, cutting clean lines through the ash on his skin. You're okay," he whispered over and over, pressing his forehead against the boy's hair. "I'm here now." Then a thought hit him like lightning. He pulled back and looked around. Who saved him? The paramedic glanced toward the burning building. "A woman," he said. "She went in before we arrived. Homeless by the looks of her. We tried to find her, but she vanished." Ethan froze. "Vanished?" "Yes, sir." She didn't wait for help. Just disappeared. The CEO's jaw tightened. His mind couldn't process it. A stranger risking her life for his son, then walking away without a word. He turned toward the firefighters, scanning faces, every corner of the crowd. Did anyone see her? A woman, dirty clothes, brown hair, maybe injured? A firefighter stepped forward. "Sir, a witness said she had a blue scarf. She used it to wrap your boy before she jumped." Ethan looked down. Around his son's shoulders, half burned and torn, was a blue woolen scarf. It was rough, handmade, smelling faintly of smoke and something soft, maybe lavender or maybe just hope. He brushed his thumb over the fabric, his throat tightening. "She gave him this," he whispered. Reporters were already arriving, flashing cameras, shouting questions. "Mr. Hale, how do you feel knowing your son was rescued by a homeless woman? Do you plan to reward her? What message do you have for her if she's listening?" But Ethan didn't answer. He lifted his son into the car himself and handed him gently to a nurse. As the door closed, he stood still for a long moment, staring at the burning building, at the rising smoke that hid her somewhere in its shadows. Finally, he turned to his driver. "Call my team. I want every resource, security, outreach, shelters, hospitals, everyone looking for her, tonight."